I am so happy to tell you that Tissot is continuing to absolutely murder in the watch industry. That makes me so happy. There are so many rich companies and massive expensive players. I love that Tissot is doing well.
Their newest watch shocked me. I got a lot of flack, but I was like, no, that's exactly what I was looking for.
100%.
Yes.
What is up, Watch Fam? I am Christian, the curator of the Theo Harris Vintage Watch Shop.
My name is Michael. I am briefly wearing a watch from the watch shop that is my favorite watch and is also a small subject today.
I love it. Yeah, I'm wearing another one of the small subjects today, an Omega Tissot.
Whoa!
So today we're
I'm going to take this off, by the way, so I don't scratch it.
It's also too large. Yes, Tissot just released another watch, their PRX Digital, which is a bunch of things.
Yes.
One of the things that is exactly what we told Omega to release just a couple of weeks ago.
When we were talking about the true Omega Olympic watch, we said, or you said rather, it would be a digital watch, a very high quality, a very beautiful digital watch.
Yes.
But that's what we're working with now.
The whole idea, to recap that conversation, this whole idea that Omega celebrates the Olympics with watches that are pretty on the nose, and I don't think all that special. I don't think they're great like Olympic watches. I don't see them on people. I'm sure that they sell. I'm not saying on a commercial level they're not a success. I'm sure
from an Olympic, you have the Olympic line, but really, you say this is the Olympic watch. You change a few things on a Seamaster.
Really, nobody cares.
Exactly.
No one actually cares, right? To wear that watch would be, it's not fun. To wear that watch, someone would say like, do you have an affiliation with the Olympic Committee?
You must have been in the Olympics.
You must have been in the Olympics. Otherwise, I don't understand why you'd buy it, because it's not that fun of a watch.
Unless you like the color.
I'm sure someone else has one out there. I'm sure they're a big Olympic fan.
Michael Phelps is watching this video, like personally offended.
Dude, these guys are assholes. That was my impersonation of smoking a bong, which I've never done before.
Shoots up into the air and dives in the water.
Exactly. So we said that Omega really should release something that is actually more accurate, right? Something that is digital. They're not measuring Olympic time with mechanical watches anymore. It's all digital. So it makes sense to manufacture a digital watch, which would also be kind of fun and very 21st century and kind of very millennial.
Very quirky.
I mean, they did it back in the second half of the 20th century, like the 70s. I think they did like digital stuff in the 80s.
Yes,
did it a ton. They could do it again and it would be great. And I think everyone would like it. And it wouldn't be as much about buying a piece of the Olympics as it would be like, that's just a cool watch that I really, really like. And it's digital and it's fun and it's cool. Yeah.
Where do you see a price point for that with Omega?
I think somewhere in the high 2s, low 3s, they can get away with it. Even 33 to 36, I think it would get away with it. People would buy it.
Such a funky watch, 100%. Has the Omega stamp on it, and they'll be able to change things, fix things if needed, whatever it may be.
And literally 2 weeks after we made those remarks publicly, Tissot released what is essentially basically that. Tissot saw in the market exactly what we see in the market, a kind of, I guess, millennial, Gen Z, basically, desire for cool, very like a stylistically decisive kind of 80s retro digital watches.
Not a rejection of digital. I feel like a lot of these big brands are like, well, we reject all things digital unless it's the Mars watches.
Right.
It's like, well, no, because if you execute it right, it's really cool.
It's really cool and it's fun, and I would wear one. There's no doubt about
35. That's crazy.
100%. So we've got a bunch of questions that we'll talk about, and this is a large conversation about Swatch Group, Tissot, about Omega. It's a large conversation.
Yes.
And one of the questions that we'll answer later is essentially, why in the world would I buy a Tissot PRX Digital for $450 or for $375 in the 35 millimeter version?
Which is the better size.
When I could buy a Casio, basically the same Casio, for $70 online?
Yes.
That is a good question that we'll answer later on in the show, and it might surprise you. It won't surprise anyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Tissot as a brand and Tissot history and why this recent, rejuvenation is so surprising and so incredible.
And every one they do slaps. The entire community is like, oh yeah, I love that watch. Should I get 100%. This or the Christopher Ward 12 or should I get this? It's a new era.
So exciting.
Yes.
When I got into the watch industry, it was the visit date, right? That's kind of what we said. Like, that was it. And there's nothing against the visit date, and I'll talk all about the visit date in just a second. But it's a watch that goes back 80 80 years, I think, or 70
you can get
years.
ancient watches with the Visitate on
It's amazing. I mean, Tissot Company was founded, I think, in 1853. This is an old heritage Swiss watch company, right?
Yeah.
In 1953, the Visitate come out, but in 1930, little known fact, Tissot was actually merged with Omega, and it wasn't until
Tissot Omega, right?
Tissot Omega, which is the watch I'm wearing right now. This watch is available in the Theo Harris watch shop. This is one of the rare double stamped Tissot Omega watches, sector dial, gray, gold, black. Fucking awesome watch.
Yeah.
Such a cool piece of watchistry. Go and take a look at this watch in the shop. Link is down below. But then it wasn't until 1983 when Swatch acquired both brands that they became Swatch Group brands. And Swatch positioned them separately, not as one, but they kind of parceled them. They said Omega will be a little bit more upmarket, Tissot will be a little bit more entry market. No particular, I mean, not to say there's no particular reason for that, but it could have gone the other way in theory, right? Yeah. But that was the Omega decision. They just bet that positioning was better for the brands.
That's
right?
the Swatch position.
Exactly.
Yes.
And back to the Visitate. When you got into the watch industry about 10 years ago, right?
Yes.
8 or 10 years ago.
Yep.
What was Tissot? It's not a trick question.
What was Tissot?
Yes.
Exactly what they are now. Essentially just like a lower mid-tier brand.
But was it something that anyone talked about?
No.
No. And there was really kind of one watch that if you talked about Tissot, like it was the watch, it was the Visitate.
The Visitate, yeah.
Which is like, a great watch. The Visitate is, it's kind of a mealy-mouthed watch, meaning it's not stylistically decisive. It's kind of, mass market, but it's mechanical and there's something there.
It's your intro.
It's not fun, but it's your intro and it's a good watch to buy as one of your first watches, or it's a good watch I used to recommend it all the time to people who said, well, I want to buy a graduation watch for my son. I want to keep it under $1,000. What do you recommend? And one of the watches I would always say would be a Tissot Visitate with a cool strap.
Classic styling, doesn't offend anyone. Great watch, you can get serviced. Right, super 100%. Professional, can wear it forever if you want. 100%. You can also upgrade.
100%.
Yes.
But that is not like a standing ovation for the brand. That is not really like great brand speak. Like, if you want a watch that'll kind of last a while and it's or forever, but like it's not that exciting and you need to get a different strap because that's the only way that it's actually fun. It's not really a great thing.
I know nothing about your son, so I'm going to recommend the most generic thing in the world.
Exactly.
And it's this brand.
And not to say that the Visitate couldn't have been really stylistically decisive and cool. Maybe they bring it back and maybe they'll improve upon it. I don't know.
Right.
But Tissot was kind of just like this entry-level watch that had brand awareness, and that was kind of it.
Yeah, you know what it is? It had brand awareness to the point where if you were at the mall, you'd be like, well, Michael Kors, I know it's not that good. Fossil is kind of weird.
Tissot's a better watch.
That's a good watch.
100%.
Yes.
But that's the extent of it.
Yes.
Okay. And then, 2-ish years ago, Tissot surprised the entire world with their PRX. Okay. Mm-hmm. The PRX is a watch that existed in the Tissot catalog years ago, but it actually doesn't seem related to those vintage models really at all. The new PRX basically saw what was happening in the watch world, seeing this explosion of Royal Oaks and of Nautiluses and all these different things and all these crazy sports watches, integrated bracelets, and said, well, we can make one of those well under $1,000.
Well under $1,000, which is a huge jump.
And they made different sizes and different price points, and quartz or mechanical, and they just made this entire collection of watches that everyone loved in different colors and all this. It exploded.
When I first got into the watch world, knew nothing about watches. I posted a picture of a Royal Oak on Reddit and said, "What is this watch called? How can I get one of these?" And people were like, "Shut up! You're an idiot. Come on." Yeah. There was no PRX at that time. It was like the Sarb 035, Tissot, all in that range. Now, if I was at that stage, I'd be like, oh, well, I'll get a Tissot. Yes. I'll get a PRX, or I'll get a Christopher Ward 12. That's the big change.
They caught lightning in a bottle. They read the market perfectly, and they delivered back to it exactly what it wanted, and the PRX became a wildly successful watch. A brilliant move by Tissot, or its parent company Swatch, whoever made the decision.
Of course.
Can I say fucking?
No, just bleep it.
Yeah, whatever. I won't say it. Lightning in a bottle. Can't happen twice, right? Like, will they be able to do this well again? Is the leadership that good? Was this really not a fluke?
Right.
PRX Digital. Clearly, it's in the same idea, clearly,
of course.
PRX class, but this watch is phenomenal, and I think it's going to explode. And this is just it's a cool watch. I think what's special about it, too, is at 35 millimeters, which I think is a great size. It comes in 2 sizes, but
40,
at this size, like, it's unisex. Everything's unisex, but it's really a unisex watch. And I think that I could totally see like a brother-sister walking in and like to Tissot store and like getting a matching pair of
Totally.
parents. Like, let's get you guys watches. Like
Yeah,
maybe the boy wants the PRX and the girl wants the PRX digital or vice versa. Like that's an adorable family little thing, right?
Yeah.
And of course, all watches are unisex. We can wear whatever we want, of course. But let's not be blind and imply that there weren't watches that were designed for women in mind, right? Like I think one of the greatest examples is the Bulgari Serpenti.
I love that watch.
I just did a freaking phenomenal historical write-up about the Bulgari Serpenti that I published on the Zero, which is our podcast community that's just going incredibly well. I did a couple hundred words, and it was just all about the history of this watch and why it's significant. And while it wasn't the first watch to incorporate, the serpent, a snake, in jewelry, it is probably one of the most significant pieces of jewelry and watchmaking ever. It's really one of my favorites.
It's unreal.
I would love to see a woman in a Serpenti. I think that she would eat me up and spit me out.
Yeah, yeah.
So head on over to the Zero and read that article. Joining the community is not free, but we give out so much in credits that it is free functionally for everybody. We do podcasts weekly with different watch experts. We have Michael on once a month, my dad and Liquor Run. We've got it's just a beautiful, beautiful watch community that you definitely want to be a part of. And if you do sign up, which you can do on a 7-day free trial anyway, shoot me a DM and say hi. I'd love to talk some watches.
This is a watch I have wanted for a long time, but not with this brand name on it.
Right.
There's a very similar one by Omega that was in the 70s or 80s that I've always wanted. It comes up and I'm like, ugh, I don't want to spend that much on that watch.
Right.
But that is a beautiful watch. And guess what? Now it's here.
Tissot made it.
Just a different brand name.
Absolutely brilliant move by Tissot. Do you think this will be a market success?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think it'll be wild.
And I'm judging it off myself because I'm like, I want that watch. That's cool.
I think it will be wild. Again, we'll answer the question a little bit later, why you'd buy it over a Casio. But before we do, I want to talk about this trend of democratization in the watch industry.
Yeah.
Right? Like we saw with Tissot, with their PRX, right? Kind of appropriating this, Royal Oak integrated bracelet kind of idea. They're not the only ones to do it lately. And this whole idea of democratization isn't just happening in the watch industry, right? And it is happening there, but not just there, right? It's happening in art too.
A much older industry, a much larger industry that makes the watch world look like little babies.
Exactly. And it's happening in a slightly different way, right? Our friends over at Masterworks have basically married their expert understanding of the art market with the digital capability to actually kind of enable for fractional ownership, right? Because art is so expensive. Fine art, like from Picasso and
Banksy, Monet, the biggest names that you could possibly know.
Is so unaffordable that all of us, all regular folks, couldn't possibly begin to afford. It's a Club members up because you just don't have like this incredible amount of capital. But through Masterworks, you can invest but you can invest and own a piece of that art. It's become a wildly popular service.
Yeah, over 750,000 people have already signed up. So many people that there is, in fact, a waiting list. But you can jump the line if you check out the link in our description below. See important disclosures at masterworks.com/CD.
You've got the Cartier Must at $3,100. Obviously a lot of money, but this was Cartier's truly their only attempt to deliver a Tank Louis to an affordable price point.
Yeah.
At $3,100, it's literally it's less than 1/3 the price of the comparable Cartier Tank Louis, and the design is the exact same.
And rest in peace to the Solar Beat, but that was really their jump of like, well, no, it's also solar, and it has a special strap, and it's this, and it's that.
That is democratization.
Truly.
What about Casio? Casio hasn't changed the bait. Casio hasn't changed what they've been doing.
Right.
But what they have been doing has caught on like wildfire in the last couple of years, in large part due to Nico Leonard, right?
Yes.
But he did a lot to make it more popular in the last couple of years. But it just made sense. It was about time for Casio to really just make a lot of sense to the watch industry.
And it hasn't ever died.
Right. It's just fun. They're just fun, good watches that I can afford without skipping a meal. Right.
And they're indestructible. The cheapest one is not just as, but also very closely as indestructible as the G-Shock.
A couple of years ago, Vacheron Constantin released their 56 at $12,700. That was like their attempt at democratization.
Obviously, it's Vacheron, but
it's Vacheron, so it's very expensive. They're making the Holy Trinity more approachable.
Right.
So it absolutely applies, right? The Moon Swatch, of course, the Blancpain, as well.
Well, it's a discussion that we had where it's like you're now building the ladder down, but now we have to figure out how to go go back up too. We have this big move.
That entire movement by Swatch is dead on. They're understanding that we can bring really cool, well, not great watchmaking on like on an objective level, but great design watch history. We can deliver it to the masses under $1,000, well under $1,000. Right? Again, we see it with Bulgari and their Octo Finissimo.
Yes.
Okay, now, Octo Finissimo launched around $12,000. Prices have gone up a little bit, and deservedly so. But $12,000 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a Bulgari, too. Right? Historically speaking, Bulgari watches don't demand, right?
That big
like Vacheron, right? 20s and 30s and 40s. But Bulgari's Octo Finissimo, I would say, is the single greatest attempt at democratizing what is basically high-end watchmaking. Far better than the Vacheron.
Incredible design, beautiful brand name, as in brand recognition, everything.
Everything about the Octo Finissimo is essentially perfect.
Yes.
If it's perfect for your wrist, that's a different story. You kind of need a slightly larger wrist to pull it off. They are big watches.
Yeah.
But they're flawless.
Loud, attractive,
They're the best.
interesting. Yeah.
They're the best. I think it's
the thinnest at times.
Gerald Genta didn't design the Octo Finissimo.
Right.
And yet it is the single greatest Genta design. Or it very well may be the single greatest Genta design.
Exactly. It is finally a worthy student to Gerald Genta. It was like, that is it.
100% agreed.
Yes.
Another one, Piaget with their Polo, bringing the Aquanaut down to less than half the price.
Zenith is doing something similar.
Zenith's doing something similar.
Yes.
You see this pattern, all of these brands, and once I started listing them, I was like, oh, here's another one. Oh, here's another one. And I'm sure I'm missing some here. But another one, Rolex, right? Yes. Rolex has not made an effort to democratize their watches. Rolex always, from day one, understood that they needed an approachable price point.
Yes.
The Oyster Perpetual was always part of the collection. Brilliant.
It's part of the fact, and they even did it with Tudor, if you really want to open it up more.
Really want to open it up further,
but it's part of the fact that the gray market kind of clouded prices in everybody's head, but when you really look at the price of an OP, you're like, oh, that's not that far off from this other brand.
100% correct.
Yep.
That is fascinating, right? The fact that Rolex knew it all along and everyone kind of is catching up to it now.
Yep.
The only brand that seems to be moving in the opposite direction is JLC, which
JLC
is
like, I think we quadruple our prices tomorrow.
Now, JLC is also manufacturing fantastic watches, some really incredible stuff, right? The reversal chronograph, I think, is incredible. There's some other stuff. The new Polaris chronograph is really, really great. They're great watches, but they are
up 40%.
Everything is up quite a bit. So they're not following this trend of democratization like basically everybody else.
Right.
That's neither here nor there. If you love watches like I do, if you think that they mean something more than the time, then head on over to theoandharris.com and shop our selection of vintage watches and handmade straps. They're unique and they're special. And once they're gone for good. Tissot gets it maybe more than anybody at the moment because they were always positioned here. Tissot is not extending their brand down market. Tissot is capturing where they always were.
Yeah, Tissot's keeping their principles, but taking a little jump.
Right.
Being like, okay, well, we're still the affordable, cool brand.
Right.
But I guess we can be a little bit more adventurous.
100%. The only reason for the existence of micro brands in any real significant way to the market, apart from just creativity, is because the brands that existed in this price point were underserving the market.
Yeah.
Tissot was doing a mediocre job at producing watches below $1,000, so it created space for micro brands to come on the scene and
just give people what they wanted. Right. This is the design. It's a little bit louder. It has better water resistance. It's thinner.
But who needs them if the guy that was supposed to be doing his job is back at work?
Uh-huh.
So not only is Tissot, I think, has the potential to be to say micro brand killer would imply they're going to go defunct, but I don't mean that.
Of course.
But not only does Tissot have the ability to significantly recapture what always should have been theirs in that micro brand business.
Sure.
But Tissot is, thought leader might be a little bit of a strong word, but Tissot is one of the brands that's actually doing their job to an extremely high level.
If someone's going to do this, it's going to be Tissot.
And this success and this trend now, I feel, won't stop. They've got 2 massive hits now.
Yes.
I don't think they're going to stop with that. And I don't think they're going to move up market because Swatch Group as a conglomerate will not allow them to go up market.
Yes. And I don't think the name has the power to do that.
Yeah, it probably doesn't. And that's it. The future is capturing the space. So we'll end it with the simple question. Why in the world would I buy the Tissot PRX digital over a Casio that is $70? Why would I spend $350 when I can spend $70 for fundamentally the same watch?
The reason I would do it is because the Casio bracelet looks like metal, but it's not quite metal. It's also the watch head is not really metal. It's this weird coated thing. This is a very high quality, water resistant, not the Casio isn't, digital watch.
Right.
If I love digital watches, which I do, I'd want this. I'd want to go up market. And now we have little micro markets. I'm like, well, there's that cheap digital that is the standard, but if I go up market, I get this hot horology digital watch.
Right. When the expensive version is still not expensive, I think that a lot of consumer behavior when you're buying something that is not a necessity, when you're buying a thing that you don't need, no one needs a watch, it's going to be like, well, I'll just get the better one.
That
it's
one
not
feels
that
like
much more money.
That feels like a mechanical watch, like the build quality and stuff. Yes, it does.
When we're talking about cell phone bills and utilities and those things, we say, no. What's reliable and what's the cheapest and it gets the job done because the job needs to get done.
Right.
This job doesn't need to get done. No one needs a digital watch. So when you're going to buy one, when you're going to choose to make this, to just throw this money in the garbage, basically, and buy something that you just like, why spend the $60 to get the one that you don't actually like that much when you could spend the $350, which is not that much more money, to just get the much better thing? I mean, it's really like one dinner out if you're a guy or two if you're a girl.
Yeah.
Like, assuming I'm a guy because you're paying for another person.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's one extra
Because
dinner.
guys also eat more.
Right. It's also because I'm really hungry. And you're like, and it's showing. But that's it. Like, it's not that much more money for the much better product. Yeah. That's it. That's why people, everyone but, like I think I don't want to say everyone but like trendy, like, you know, trendy hipsters with don't really have any money at all.
Yeah.
But everyone that's not in that group, I think is going to opt for the Tissot PRX. I think it's a cooler watch, it's a better watch, and it's more comfortable. I think this is a home run.
I do too.
I'm glad that you and I are Tissot fans. Michael and I are essentially fans for anything that is good for the watch community.
Yes.
I think the Tissot is good for the watch community.
I would agree.
I don't own a Tissot. Maybe I will own a Tissot soon. I don't know. But I'm just happy that they exist.
They made a weird little digital watch, and that's the best thing that I've seen in a while.
100%.
Yes.
So that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like watches, subscribe to our channel. And of course, if you want more content from us, go down below and join our community at The Zero. We've got literally hundreds of members now, and we're building a beautiful watch community. We're doing lives every month and releasing a podcast every week, and I'd really love to see you on over there. It's not free. With all the bonuses we give out, it is functionally free. And if you do join, go ahead and shoot me a DM. I'd love to chat some watches with you. See you over there.